you love ball like I do, After Dark's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Hello and welcome to the Saturday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I am back home. I made it out of Charlotte before the storms hit tomorrow morning. I was worried about getting my flight canceled, like what happened to our own Jeff Goodman, who had to move hotels. He is stuck in Charleston. He's stuck in Nashville. He's going to be in Nashville until Monday morning. That is the earliest that he can actually get out of Nashville. So congratulations. You get to go to tomorrow's SEC Tournament Championship game, which is something that you were not initially planning on doing. And you'll be also doing our Selection Sunday live stream marathon broadcast. We'll be going for 6.5 hours starting at 5:15 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to have our Fielding the 68 crew on there, unveiling their most recent bracket projection along with Jeff. And then everybody with the Field of 68 will be on at some point tomorrow for about an hour. We're going to be there for more than 6.5 hours, probably getting closer to 7 hours if I know how this thing kind of goes. So tomorrow is going to be absolutely epic. I can't wait for us to see the bracket. And a lot of stuff happened. We have some big bubble results that happened today, specifically in the Mountain West. We're going to hear from Terrence Oglesby in a couple of minutes to talk about that. We also have Mike LaTulip coming on to break down what happened at the end of that Michigan-Wisconsin thriller. And, of course, John Fanta on the Big East and St. John's and Rick Pitino. But before we get into any of that, Goodman, you were in Nashville today. You saw maybe the two most important games when it comes to Final Four and national championship conversations, because the SEC Final Four could have very well be the NCAA Tournament's Final Four. You had four of the top six teams in America in that building today playing. What was your single biggest takeaway from what you saw today in Nashville?
The Florida Gators are the favorites to win the national title. That's what I'm going to say. They are the best team in America going into the NCAA tournament. Now, they may lose tomorrow to Tennessee, but I still believe in it, and I've seen them play now a few times in person, and I think they have the least amount of deficiencies of any team in America. They've got depth. They've got balance. They've got three of the best guards in America. They've got front court guys, different types. Hanglogten gives them a completely different dimension. You know, if you watch one play today, it was how he was out in an island on Mark Sears on one possession, Rob. And Sears tried to cross him up, drove to the basket, took it to the right side, and Micah stood every step of the way. And, Sears wasn't able to get the shot even up over him. He gives him a different dimension. But this team is just, again, they fit so well together. You've got to give Ty Golden and his staff so much credit for what they did in the portal. And we'll have an interview later on. Trust me, you're going to want to stay and watch the afters. I have never done an interview like the one I did post-game with the Florida Gators guard trio of Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton Jr., and Will Richard. It was, again, Rob knows where it took place. Probably never been done before.
Okay,
but these guys are elite. Okay. They're elite.
Be careful saying that. Okay. It was a good interview. It was a good interview, and it was completely unexpected when we saw it come through on the group chat here for the Field of 68. I have a question about your take there. If Cooper Flagg had an ankle that was at 100%, would you still have the same opinion on Florida being the favorite to win the national title?
Probably not. But Cooper Flagg's ankle is gimpy. It's gimpy. That's the word I'm going to use with it. And until I see him back at 100% or close to it, I think right now, again, the Florida Gators are the favorites to me because, and we'll talk about it in a minute here, Auburn is not looking like themselves. Alabama got punked today by Florida. Absolutely
again
in the second half.
Again. Yeah, it's not the first time that's happened to them in recent games. I'll say this about Florida, right? I think that Todd Golden has kind of figured out a formula here for ways that you can win in the world of college basketball, right? They pound the offensive glass. They're good enough at forcing turnovers. They're not great, but they're good enough. They have a couple of really, really good individual defenders. Elijah Martin shuts the water off of anybody that he ends up getting matched up with on the defensive end. And they have 3 playmaking guards that are capable of getting a bucket. And I do think that this new going with the 2 big 3 guard system is kind of a new look, right? We had a while where everybody was trying to go smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it was, you need that one big guy with 4 guards around him to try to deal with someone like a Zach Edey, right? And I think that it's interesting that Florida is doing this the way that they're rolling their lineups out there is they have those 2 big guys out there. It's Alex Condon and it's Thomas Hawk and then and you mentioned Micah Hanlockton and Ruben Chinyelu, and there's going with that 2 guard or that 2 big lineup is something that's a little bit new, but it's working for them because those guys are versatile enough in their individual skill sets. Jeff, you have guys that can step out and make a 3. You have players that are at their best just pounding the glass. Micah Hanlockton is one of the best rim protectors that you're going to find in college basketball, and I think they're able to pair those guys together. And they all play just as hard. Like that's the biggest thing I think with this Florida team is that those guys play their asses off and they're connected and they really understand their roles. No one's trying to do something that they are not capable of doing when it comes to that team.
And think about this. Alex Condon had been their best player for like a 2-week stretch. In the last 2 games, he hasn't done much. And they've still, I mean, again, that second half today was an absolute blowout. I mean, it was close. It was a 1-point game, I think, at halftime. And then second half, they just absolutely took it to them, ended up with scoring over 100 points. The key for them is still defensively. And if they want to, they can bring it defensively. They can be one of the better defensive teams in the country, but sometimes they rebound at a high level, but that doesn't always mean you defend at a high level. Those are 2 different things in terms of guarding, especially in the perimeter. And Walter Clayton Jr. is a good defender. Like you said, Elijah is a very good defender, and I think Will Richards is a very good defender. When they want to be, they can all guard because, again, they're big, they're strong, they're athletic. They can make shots. We had him as a first-team All-American, Walter Clayton Jr., and I don't know if there's a guard I would take in the country over him. Braden Smith.
He was unbelievable today. The guy that we all
is unbelievable.
Like how much should we hype up? And I don't want to make this sound like I'm taking shots at Mark Sears because I think Mark Sears has had an All-American caliber season, right? But he entered the season as a guy that we were talking about as one of the National Player of the Year favorites, right? One of the guys that's in that conversation. And Walter Clayton Jr. today, I'm just going to give you the stats, right? Because that kind of sums everything up here. Walter Clayton Jr., 22 points, 6 for 11 from 3, 6 assists, 3 steals, not a single turnover to his name. Mark Sears, 9 points, 3 of 11 from the floor, 0 for 4 from 3, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. And to me, that just kind of sums up what this Florida team is. They've continued to get better. So my question to you, Jeff, is why is Alabama going through this kind of rut? What is wrong with Alabama right now?
Well, I mean, listen, they've had a tough schedule. They haven't been as good as we thought they'd be this year. They've been erratic. And I think a big part of it is when your best player is erratic, which is the case with Mark Sears. The difference is Walter Clayton has been consistently good all year round. And Mark Sears, frankly, Nate Oates doesn't always know what he's going to expect from Sears. Sears was awful in the second half. Big Cliff, I don't know how many rebounds he finished with, but it wasn't many. I'm looking at the box score now. He had 1 rebound tonight. 1 rebound. Like, I can get 1 rebound against Florida. I'm convinced I could pull down 1 rebound against Florida. Maybe I couldn't. Probably couldn't. But Cliff should. He's 7 feet. He's a big boy. He can't have 1 rebound. Youngblood's been better, certainly. LeBaron Fallon, the talented freshman, was awesome last game. And as good as he was a game ago, he was not very good today. And again, Grant Nelson didn't play in the second half. And I talked to Nate Oates after the game about that. He injured his knee at the end of the first half, drove kind of something awkwardly with the knee. And Nate said, I don't think it's an ACL, but I don't know what it is. And I'm hopeful we'll have him for the first round of the NCAA tournament. So, they'll know more. Sure, they'll have tests. They'll find out how he's doing here when he wakes up tomorrow. But, that would be a brutal blow for Alabama. Because, again, we saw what happened. When Grant Nelson plays hard, he can impose his will. He doesn't look the part because he's super athletic. But sometimes when he plays tough, like if he plays tough, they're a different team, Rob. And when he wasn't out there at all today, like they just got completely.
The issue with them is like I think it is toughness. Like toughness is the problem
Yes.
for Alabama. It's they have.
What have I been saying all year with Sears? I've been saying all year like the lack of kind of leadership, the lack of like your best player being a guy that.
I don't know if it's that necessarily as much as that's definitely part of the problem. But I think I think they're one of these teams that has a couple too many specialists. And what I mean by that is they got guys that are out there that can shoot. And then they have guys that are out there that are their purpose is playing defense and getting rebounds and being physical. And they have guys that are out there because of what Mark Sears can do. And you just have too many guys that are really good at one thing and not great at being kind of all around basketball players. So there's certain matchups that will really affect them because the pieces don't necessarily fit perfectly. I want to move on though, because I think that we have to talk about this. Auburn was the team that everybody considered the overwhelming favorite to win the national title as recently as a month ago, right? As recently as about 2 weeks ago, it was, well, yeah, this is just Duke and Auburn. We're just waiting for them, this collision course that's eventually going to happen where they play each other in the national championship game. And then Auburn, after they won the SEC regular season title outright by beating, I believe it was it Florida that they beat in their own building? I can't remember who they beat in their own building. Yeah, I think it was Florida. After they won the regular season title outright in their own building, they went and they lost at Texas A&M, and everyone was like, yeah, you know what? That's not that big of a concern. They don't really have anything to play for. There's a little bit of a hangover. Let's just see what happens here moving forward. And then you play Alabama, and you lost to Alabama at home in overtime. Albeit it was on a buzzer beater, you still lost to Alabama at home. Then you go out and you win your first game in the SEC tournament, and today you lose to Tennessee. And it wasn't the prettiest performance. Shania Broom had 23. Jahad Pettiford was terrible. Denver Jones wasn't very good. And now you're in a spot where you're fourth in Ken Palm after you looked like the best team that we've seen in a long time on Ken Palm. And you've lost 3 out of 4, and no team has won the national title having lost 3 out of 4 heading into the NCAA tournament, Jeff. I still think they're probably going to be the number 1 overall seed because if you win the SEC regular season outright, you should be the number 1 overall seed. But there are very, very real question marks about this Auburn team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Pettiford was awful today, and I love the kid. I think he's super talented, and I think he's the X factor for the team, and kind of shows it today because if he gives you nothing, which he didn't give you anything on the offensive or defensive end, he didn't play the last 6 minutes. Bruce Pearl just sat him and said, obviously, I'm going to go with Denver Jones and Broom and Baker Mazzara and Miles Kelly, who was in foul trouble. And he went with Carwell for the most part as well, the two bigs. They had a chance to win this game. They came back. They were down. It looked like they were in trouble. They went on their run. And then it was interesting, Rob, because I thought Tennessee did a great job switching it up on Janai. At times doubling them. Mm-hmm. And they forced him to pass a couple times to Jones, and I believe it was Kelly had 2 kind of wide open threes, and they missed them both. And then the next couple possessions, when they were up 3 late, Tennessee they didn't double him. They were kind of giving him the 2, and he missed a bunny and then a follow. So, they could have won this game. It's not like they were bad, but offensively, when they get nothing from Pettiford, just because, again, Baker Mazzara is a wild card. I wonder, too, I said this early, like, I feel like because they kept winning and winning and winning, they got really loose, and they had a lot of fun. They do. They talk a lot of shit, Rob, and they have fun. And sometimes I feel like Bruce might have let him get too far with some of that. And now it's like, get down to business, just play ball. Even Janai, who I friggin' love, and he's unstoppable. I mean, he is absolutely unstoppable. An elite passer, can score. Nobody can stop him one-on-one in the country. But I feel like sometimes he's complaining to the refs too much, talking a little bit too, instead of just like, get back to what made you guys so damn good early when you proved it every single game, which was just kicking teams' asses. Get back to that.
Yeah, I do think that there's something to that, right? And I want to say it was they got a little bit comfortable. I don't know if it was loose. I think they got a little bit comfortable and maybe cocky is the way that I would phrase it. Like they just expected to show up and win instead of having to go out there and actually go compete and win. And I think that that's something that they lost a little bit. And I really am hoping that Bruce can kind of drive that home here in the next 5 days. But I also want to qualify something, right? You go and you lose at Texas A&M, who is a top, 15 team in America, right? Not really any shame in that. You lose to Alabama, who is a top 5, 6 team in America. They're going to be a 2 seed, right? No shame in that. And you lose to Tennessee, who, if they beat Florida tomorrow, could very well end up being the fourth number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So it's not like Auburn is dropping games that are embarrassing, right? It's not like they're out here losing to, I don't know, like a Vanderbilt or losing to LSU or doing anything.
No, these were games that they were winning, though. These were games we kind of expect them to win because we had and really not honestly, like this is one area where I think if you look back at some of the comments that I made earlier in the season, I said it multiple times. I never said that Auburn was like a notch above everybody, like I think a lot of people were saying middle of the season. I had seen them a couple times in person. I'm like, their talent, I don't think it's that much better. In fact, I'm not sure it's better than any of these other three teams.
It's not better than the other teams. But what it was is that you had as much talent. You had a guy in the middle in Janai Broom who was the perfect fit for how Bruce Pearl wants to play. And you have a bunch of guys that play their balls off every single time they step on the floor. And I think what we've seen recently is a team that is waiting to turn it on a little bit longer than they have in the past, right? And I do think that there's something to, teams are kind of figuring out a little bit. Okay, you can attack this guy. Okay, you can get to the rim here. Okay, this is how you can kind of beat them. So credit to Tennessee here as well. I do want to really quick, you were able to catch up with Zakai Zeigler after this game and talk with him a little bit about what happened and how they won this game and what it's like advancing to the SEC championship game with a 1 seed on the line against Florida tomorrow. Here's that interview.
All right, Zakai, advanced to the SEC title game. You beat Auburn, a team that everybody's got number 1 all year. I feel like you guys have been a little bit disrespected throughout the season. How much has that kind of motivated you guys?
It motivated us a lot, Even we was number 1 in the country for 5 weeks or whatever it was. And, people were still saying we shouldn't be number 1, we shouldn't be this or that. So, every single day we came in with that chip on our shoulder that we got to get better, still thinking whether we're number 1 in the country or 101 that people are disrespecting us and thinking that we aren't as good as we are. So, every single day we pride ourselves on just getting better. And, even coming down to Nashville, we told ourselves that we came here to win a championship, not to beat Auburn, not to beat Texas, but to win a championship. And I feel like the guys showed a lot of that fight today.
How big was this one for you? Again, just getting the momentum. Obviously, like you said, you want to win an SEC title, but momentum going into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of momentum. This is the best conference in history. We're going to go down in history, and just winning a tournament like that, it would just mean so much to us. And especially going into March Madness, every single game in the SEC playing against the best teams in the country night in and night out. So, going into March Madness, winning a tournament like this or even winning a few games in this tournament definitely gives us a lot of momentum.
You guys just kind of go about your business. You watch Auburn, they talk a little bit of trash. We know that. You guys just go about your business. How much has that kind of added to the fuel and kind of what makes you guys really good?
Yeah, well, I feel like it just comes from our preparation. And, every single day in practice, we go at it like we don't know each other. Coach Barnes goes at us every single day. We might even have some success. And, if you come into practice and you're not practicing as hard as you can or being who you should be, he gonna get on you and tell you, you got to get better. You're being selfish, like things like that. So I feel like when we play against teams that chirp a little bit or talk a little bit of trash, it doesn't. I don't say it phases us, but it just fuels us a little bit more.
Last one. Where would you have been if Barnes didn't offer you a scholarship right now?
Grant Hurst, my teammate, he actually asked me this, and my answer was a little bit crazy, but I don't know where I really don't know where I would be. I was thinking about quitting basketball around that time. I'm just thankful and blessed that I was given this opportunity, and the Lord has brought me a long way.
Imagine if Zakai Zeigler had quit basketball and hadn't had the opportunity to play here. Listen, Tennessee, another big win for them. I can't buy all the way in on this team, but every time I try to sell all my shares in Tennessee, Goodman, here's the danger. I don't think I'm going to get all the way in because every time I get all the way in on Tennessee, they end up collapsing. So I'm going to let you handle all the way in.
You've done this every year. Like for the last 3 years, you've gone all in and it's backfired. I have never put all my chips in on the Tennessee Vols. I'm putting them all in at this point and saying Tennessee is going to be a Final Four team. Watching them today and the last couple of days, really, I just think, again, you look at it and you're like, they got Lanier, they got Zeigler, they got a defensive-minded big man. Meshack just plays like an MF-er. Gainey can score now. I think the biggest difference, honestly, might be Gainey and the fact that he's a guy now who can score in multiple ways. He can put it on the floor. Obviously, we know can shoot it. Phillips is a beast, and he plays so hard coming off the bench, buys into his role. The key, as I've said it for a month, 2 months now, is Igor Milicic. He is the key to me to whether Tennessee is a Final Four team.
Yep. I will say this, Goodman. If you're all the way in on Tennessee, you really do look good in orange. Listen, coming up next, we're gonna head up to New York City. We're gonna be joined by John Fanta to discuss what happened with the St. John's Big East tournament title, the first one they've won in more than 25 years. Rick Pitino is a Big East champion. That's coming up next. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light.
All right, now we bring in none other than John Fanta to talk about the Johnnies. Who else? St. John's. I said it earlier this season. They're relevant again. I don't know if, Fanta, we thought they'd be this relevant, winning both the regular season title and now the Big East tournament title. Rick Pitino, what can you say?
What I could say is what he told the crowd tonight inside Madison Square Garden, Jeff Goodman. Maybe I saved the best for last. In other words, his last stop. First coach in the history of college basketball to win conference tournament titles at 5 different schools. I'm convinced he could go on Mars, get 30 teams to fly into outer space and play him, and he'd find a way to win some league title out there. It is special. Manhattan, the streets are packed with red. Normally on this weekend, it's St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's talking about St. Patty's Day. They finally have a reason. They finally have a reason to return to college basketball and return to St. John's. This man, in not even 2 years, took this program to where, as you well know, because you've been covering the sport for a long time and you've been covering it long enough to know the hype train that is the offseason, the poor coaching hires, the dysfunction that has been St. John's University. Tonight, Jeff Goodman, in front of 16,000, 17,000, Creighton had, I'll say 2,000, 2,500. The MSG staffers looked at me and said, I never thought this would happen again.
Crazy. I mean, think about this, man. The last time they were truly relevant, like at the highest level of this relevance, I was 14 years old. I was 14. I'm old. I'm old, fan, as we know. I may not act old, but I am old. I was 14 years old in 1980.
What do you remember about that?
I mean, I remember going to the Connie Forum.
You do?
Like my dad taking me to the Connie Forum for all BC. BC was really good back then, believe it or not, really good. And the teams that would come in, I remember Chris Mullen and Walter Berry and all these dudes coming in, and St. John's was like a program, like they had pros every single year, and they went through when I went out a couple weeks ago to that UConn St. John's game at the Garden, I said to you, I was like, I don't remember the last time I was at a St. John's regular season basketball game at the Garden. It's always for, the MTEs and the other teams that come into New York City, never for St. John's. But Rick Pitino he's going to go down, and this will cement his legacy. And it's interesting because if he had stayed in Greece, his legacy would have been different. Even if he had stayed at Iona, his legacy would have been different. Now, this final chapter is going to be something we remember as bringing a dormant program to one that I think this isn't a one-off. This is going to be next year, the year. Rick Pitino is what, 72? 72?
73.
73. How old does Rick Pitino act, Fanta?
45.
Yes. Like he could go
72. He is 72. He'll be 73 heading into next year.
Health provided, Rick Pitino could go 5 more years easy, and it wouldn't shock me one bit. So, all right, you set the scene a little bit for us and how insane it was outside the arena, inside the arena. I mean, everywhere. It's just crazy. On the court. I mean,
yeah,
Creighton's not that good. Let's be honest. What Greg McDermott has done is kind of magic in a way after losing Pop Isaacs. We talked about it last night. Can this St. John's team do real damage? Not just get to the second weekend. Could they do real damage, or is their shooting just not good enough?
Well, tonight, they only scored 25 points in the first half. They played a D-level half. And they were only down 3 because their defense just does not waver. But even then, had they won it, I never doubted that they would win this basketball game, Jeff. But there's the way that they won the last 2 that makes me believe they can do damage, particularly this one. I mean, last night against Marquette was also huge, but Zuby Ejiofor exposed a Marquette frontcourt that doesn't have a true 5-man that can guard him. Tonight, that's not the case with Creighton. Like, Creighton's got Ryan Kalkbrenner, so defensively, Creighton's been a top 35 or so defensive team. Jeff, when has this Creighton team given up 57 points in a half?
Never.
Creighton scored 66 in the game. And it's not the first half. It's the second half. The reason why I think they can do damage is Kadari Richmond is like Jalen Brunson and like you've been talking about the Duke players, attitude-wise, of like nothing gets to the kid. He's honestly kind of a boring interview, And I mean that in a complimentary way.
Yeah.
But the guy's a killer. And I thought again, the last 2 nights, he just willed them. Tonight, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, but feels like 2 steals. And what you have is RJ Lewis has grown into an alpha. He had 29 in this game, 27 of which came in the second half. And for me, if they shoot 40% or better from 3, I guarantee you that if this team were to lose a game in the tournament and their season comes to an end, you and I will both look at the 3-point figures and say, yeah, they went 4 for 24, and that's what led them to the loss. What they have done, they have figured out the fact that we're not a 3-point shooting team, even though we might message it that we are. Let's take a few less, and when we step into it, it's an open look. Tonight, 7 of 14. The way they played in the second half, they're going to shut every team they play down offensively for a portion, if not a whole half of a game. That's how they are defensively. If they just take care of the ball and don't get rushed when they're on the offensive end, this team can be sitting in San Antonio. Because are you really going to bet against that coach and the 2 things that have happened? 1, the development of Lewis, and 2, an elite big man now in Ejiofor.
I agree. I've been at SEC these last few days, and again, they're high level, and I kind of try to go back to a couple of weeks ago when I saw UConn play St. John's. And the one thing I'll say about the Johnnies is, and this was Rick Pitino telling his staff after last year's debacle. I don't know if it was a debacle, but it was like these Ivy League guys that weren't athletic, they weren't big, they weren't strong. Get me some dudes. Get me some dudes. And I look at Florida, and I look at Alabama, and I look at some of these teams, Auburn, and I say to myself, you know what? They're not going to be overmatched athletically. They're not going to be overmatched physically. They can match up, muck it up, win a game in the 60s, and frustrate the hell out of some of these SEC teams that, honestly, they are at a different level from most teams. But St. John's could be a good matchup for some of these SEC teams if they can get there.
They could put anybody in the blender because they're physical, they have length, and they've won games because of their work in August and September. Right. And I know some people say that's cliche, not with Pitino. Jeff, you know it. Not with sitting on a workout, sitting on anything. This guy never stops. Jeff, think about this too. To your point, they're hard enough to scout playing a third time.
Right.
How about if you've never seen them or him on the sidelines?
I know.
If I'm an opposing player, there's a fear factor with this guy pacing up and down, and he is everywhere. He tells the guys where they're going before they go there. So they have found it. They don't care who gets the shine. They play unselfish basketball. There's no ego. And I think the big picture to this is, you're right. They could defend any team. And I've been covering this league for a good amount of time. I don't mean to say I've been doing this.
Yeah.
Meaning, I'll be honest with you. I tell it like it is. It's why we're on this network. It's why you brought me in when you did. And I know people say, well, he's covers the Big East primarily.
No, but you're not a Big East homer. You're not a Big East homer. I fight other people on that all the time that try to say that about you.
So, and I appreciate that. And what I mean by that is, I have walked into March Madness and told you, I don't trust this team in March Madness.
Yeah.
I trusted last year Connecticut, Villanova in 16 and 18, because how could you not?
Right.
And you trust this team now. I didn't trust them in November or December. They have grown in season. And I think, and I know we got to go here, I really believe this, and I want to see your last thought on this, because as I know you got other tournaments, that Pitino St. John's, this angle, is going to be made for main CBS in the tournament. And I think it's the best coaching storyline heading into the tournament.
No doubt. I mean, what could be better? I think the coolest storyline for a team we know is Drake, right? To me, it's Drake bringing over those Division II players, Bennett Sturts, all those guys, and Ben McCullum maybe coaching for Indiana, the next week or so. But you're right, Rick Pitino. Like, you need some big time names at the top. We used to have, the Big East, Fanta. when I was covering the Big East 10 years ago, it was so electric because you had Pitino, Boeheim, Calhoun, and these dudes would say anything. And my favorite part of that era for me of covering it was the Kentucky-Louisville battle, because you would have Cal say something and jab at Rick, and then I would just call Rick, and Rick would fight back and give a comment back. And those days are missing. We don't have, Rick has matured. He actually has matured a lot, I think, with everything that happened to him and going to Greece. And I think he was humbled. I really think Rick Pitino was humbled in a major way, having to go to Greece, back to Iona, and just kind of enjoying the game. Because now, he loved the media attention before. He doesn't care now. When you're doing it with him, he buys into it. He has fun, all that. But he is not a self-promoter who really yearns for it and seeks it out like he kind of used to do a little bit.
Mike Rapoli, who is as big a reason as well, because he's funding the roster. Now, Rick did clarify, and you'll appreciate this. He's like, for those who think Zuby Ejiofor and RJ Lewis are NIL-driven stories, RJ was a 3-star recruit from Massachusetts, or that transferred from UMass, from Miami, and Zuby averaged a point a game for Bill Self. He goes, we're not paying them much compared to what they've done.
Yeah, they had to pay Kadari. They paid Kadari.
Right. And Kadari's been terrific. Yeah. And as the season's gone on, he's been great. But like Sadiku Ibinayo scores 6 points tonight. It seems small, but he comes up big. Mike Rapoli said, the reason why this is so refreshing is because in 2025, a coach looks at his players, tells them what's on his mind, and they actually can take it. And he's like, there's less and less of that in our world. But two of the guys that are actually still doing it, Pitino and Izzo, are able to get away with it. And he also said this. He goes, listen, Rick's got an advantage. If you're 43 and you do that and you start to lose some games, you will lose your job.
Right. Yeah, Rick Pitino doesn't care. At this point, he's going to do it his way, and if it doesn't work, you know what? So be it. He'll retire and go off into the sunset. But
Jeff, you know what else it is? It's a testament to, and you say this all the time with around the country, and even at the Final Four, the most refreshing guys in this sport are the ones who don't give a damn.
Yes, and that is Rick Pitino. That is Rick Pitino, and again, it's good to have him back because the sport needs guys like Rick Pitino at this point, because so many people, again, especially this year, Fanta, like Bill Self, Kansas isn't doing that well. Coach K's gone. Roy's gone. Jay Wright's gone. All these guys are good. Tony Bennett just left. We need, some staying power with some of these names, and you hope that, the Mark Fewes and the Bill Selfs don't go anytime soon. But yeah, Rick Pitino done an incredible job. Fanta, get out, get some drinks, enjoy it, go hang out with the Johnny's fans, because my guess is by the time you get out to those bars, those fans are going to be like 10 deep. I mean, you're going to have to honestly pull some of these guys off the floor tonight.
And now these people are going to Providence in all likelihood for the first and second round. So,
have fun.
As you know, those bars can get going too. It is a special story.
I was told by my wife I can't go to Providence anytime soon. So Providence is off limits for me for a little while.
Thanks, Jeff.
As teams are fighting to get off the bubble and into the field of 68, I got a beverage for you that's been off the bubble since day one. Dad Water. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail unlike anything else on the market today. If you're tired of the same old beers and seltzers on game day, crack open something different. Dad Water is made with tequila, water, and natural flavors. Nothing artificial, no BS. It's 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, so if you're on a diet like me, you're good to go. Dad Water is also an Indiana brand. College hoops is in its DNA, and they want you to enjoy a great lineup of products all tournament long. Dad Water is the ultimate game time drink with no bubbles. It just drinks like water. Clean, smooth, refreshing, and without those burps. So take it from me. This is the easiest drinking adult beverage I've ever had. Dad Water is now available at Target, Total Wine and Liquor, and Meijer, as well as your favorite local liquor stores. Or you can order online at drinkdadwater.com. Dad Water, tequila, water, natural flavor. We're live back on the field of 68 after dark. I wonder if that went out.
Might have.
We didn't count down naked. Listen, hey, welcome back to the field of 68 after dark. My name is Rob Dauster. We have Jeff Goodman live from Vanderbilt right now. He's actually at a hotel in Vanderbilt. We have T.O., who is over there in Las Vegas. We have Mike LaTulip, who survived the storms last night in in Indianapolis, and he has made it back home after what was a wild day in the Big Ten tournament. I want to start with you, LaTulip, because I think that the biggest story today outside of the SEC.
Hold on. You're gonna let Jeff say what he just said, and then you're gonna start with LaTulip.
Right. Theo can't even have a rebuttal here. I mean, come on.
Give Theo a go. It's crazy. Hey, how I'm treated here, it's unbelievable. How I'm treated here is unbelievable.
Theo,
I didn't go out, Theo.
No one knows. I have a 6 a.m. flight.
Theo, no one knows. It didn't go out. It didn't go out, Theo. You're good. It didn't go out. We're good.
Unreal.
Don't tell anyone.
I have a 6 a.m. flight. How dare you? You did take me away from a nice steak, though. I will throw that out there. You did take me away from a nice steak.
I'll apologize for that. I'll buy you a steak next time we see you to make up for it. LaTulip.
There we go.
Buzzer beater. Trey Donaldson. Our question with this Michigan team has been point guard play. He made a huge shot late. What do you make of Michigan's last-second win over the Wisconsin Badgers today?
Yeah, that second half was absurd. Just completely absurd. I think we talked about Michigan getting their bite back yesterday and the physicality versus a physical Maryland team. And on ball, off ball cuts, on the glass, it didn't matter. They out-rebounded Maryland by 29 today. 29. And they were plus 14 in the paint. They, Maryland missed 12 layups and dunks. They weren't comfortable for the majority of the night, but when you grab hold of a game like that, like Michigan did, then the 19 turnovers for Michigan just doesn't really, it isn't as glaring as it would be in some of these other games that they've played where they haven't had this type of rebounding margin. But I talked about that second half. I mean, Wolf and Golden combined for 30 and 10. Queen had 20 himself. I mean, it was just haymaker after haymaker. I think we had 4 10-0 plus runs in that half alone. It was crazy. It was almost like who was going to make the last run, and it was fitting at the end where it kind of all crescendoed with that play from Donaldson, who, talking to him after the game, I asked him, just like playing next to Golden, I know you're a point guard, but it's unique because you got to kind of, space out at times and let them go two-man game. And then you have your moment at the end. It was crazy because he's the inbounder. There's no timeouts. It's very clearly something that they've repped in practice where you're going to have Burnett kind of dummy action, go over the top, got Gillespie's attention, and it pulled him away just enough for Golden to come back to the ball and flip it back to Donaldson. The one thing on that play I didn't understand was what Derek Queen was doing, because he was down court, and you would think you would want to stay in the middle somewhere to be able to go one way or the other to guard the guy coming downhill. But he was all the way off to the side. I think Golden was his guy, but what a finish from Donaldson. I mean, those guys tried to recover over, and just the smallest guy on the floor being able to step in there and finish like that was impressive. We had a hell of a day there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it was a great day for you. Tio, I know that we joke a lot about your dislike of the Big Ten, right? But I think you've come around. You've come fully around on the Big Ten this year, right?
You know what I've come to find out is after watching the Big Ten this year, I blame Zach Edey for all of my hatred that was the Big Ten. I no longer hate the Big Ten. He single-handedly changed the league because of how dominant he was. He single-handedly slowed down the entire league. Now, guys are playing quicker. They're playing faster. Michigan has a four-man that everybody loves to watch. Wisconsin, who I predicted to actually win the tournament, is fast. They're fun. John Tanjay is awesome. It's a different league now. And I think throwing in a couple of extra teams on the West Coast just to mix up kind of the monotony that was Big Ten play there for a few years. Now, it hasn't always been that case, but there for a few years. I think it's actually really helped the league. And I think you've started to see subtle changes to make it more entertaining, because that hasn't been the case for a while. It's been slow. It's been a foul fest. They've put the games in the mud, and because that's where they play their best at for a long time, no longer the case. I mean, a lot of really fun teams to watch in that league.
Yeah, let's
How
flip it,
about-
because one of those teams
Good.
that's really fun to watch is the Wisconsin Badgers, Mike. And I want to
they are.
I want to hit you on that, because they knocked off
I
Michigan
can't believe
State.
you're saying
I
that.
had
Like, how crazy is it that you say those words and they're accurate?
Mhm.
Like, I like watching Wisconsin. The last time I
Yeah.
said that was Frank the Tank and Sam Decker.
Yeah,
Mike,
you know
what do
what's
make of that
crazier?
win to Wisconsin?
The crazier part
Go
about
ahead.
that whole thing is the fact that, like, Chucky Hepburn would have been perfect. And now he's at Louisville doing the same thing that they're doing now. Like, where could that have been? And Wisconsin's good with some of these newer guys too. But like, it's a fun team to watch. It's a fun brand of basketball. I think that's changed significantly. And I'll be honest, guys, I'm a buyer. I think the Big Ten will make a run in the tournament. Where besides Purdue, I think there's a chance for a couple of teams to make some noise, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's time.
Mike,
It's
Go ahead.
time.
You're damn
I mean,
skippy
and the other
this
thing
time.
too, Jeff, we talked about this on the Big Ten preview way before the season. I don't think I've mentioned it once this entire season, but it speaks to T.O.'s point. I think the Big Ten for a long time was the most overcoached league in America, and everything was to scheme against Edie. And if once Edie was out of the league, then how do we shift things over? The irony in it all is the Pac-12 teams that have come in are the ones that play slow. I watched Oregon try to go low possession against Indiana in that game. UCLA tries to pull a team into the mud. It's fascinating to see how that's changed over the years. And now Wisconsin is just, probably the most emblematic of it, where, they have 11 transition points a game this year, which is probably their most ever. T.O., I think we've talked about that before. And just their ability to create advantages and have three ball handlers on the floor at all time. And Klesmit coming back has been so huge for them. I think this was, and we can get into the nuts and bolts of this game today, but this was an insane.
Do it. Get into them, Mike. Get into those nuts and bolts. Let's do it.
Okay.
Wisconsin.
This was an insanely high level game today. Just chippy. It had all the makings of a single elimination tournament. It truly felt like, even though we have the big tournament coming up, both these teams played like their lives were on the line. And early on in this game, there was a Jace Richardson barrage that, sent the whole arena into a frenzy, and the Spartan fans were into it. And I think what was really interesting to see was, to start this game, and really for the majority of the game, Tom Izzo and that staff watched Wisconsin make 19 threes yesterday, and then came in today and said, you know what, all these dribble handoffs, ball screens that Wisconsin sets, we're going under them. We're going to show, and we're going to go under. And if you want to hit shots off the bounce, go ahead. And they looked at it. You're like, okay, Blackwell, 26% off the bounce from three this year. Klesmit, 30% off the bounce from three this year. Tanjay is the one guy who's 36% that you got to be a little bit more aware of. And I think the plan was, we're going to show and go under, because we need to cut off angles. It's an angles game at this point. We can't let them get into the paint. And as that game went on, when you have a guy with size and skill of John Tanjay, those dudes get to where they want to go, period. Doesn't matter what your coverage is. Some dudes are just able to overcome coverages. And that's what we saw. My favorite, outside of, the play at the end, you call it smart, call it not smart from Tanjay, it worked out for him, certainly. But my favorite play of that game was Tanjay was on a heater, had all the attention of the Michigan State team. And who does he dial it up for at the end? John Blackwell. How does he do it? Blackwell's up top. They send Tanjay down to the block. And when Crowell runs up to set the screen, they're going to come up and twist that screen, right? We're going to act like we're set on one side. We're going to have Carson Cooper think that John Blackwell's coming off to the right, and he's really coming off to the left. So now you got no one there for the ball screen coverage. Akins is running into Cooper, and the lane is vacated because you put Tanjay below and had him almost like a role replace coming back out to the top. It got Kohler's attention on the weak side guarding Gilmore, who, Kohler should have been midline to help. And it got Fear's attention because he's guarding Tanjay. So when Blackwell wins the matchup, it's a layup to make it 72-67 with 1:11 left. And that was really the game. So, I mean, and with Tanjay at the end as well, that's I don't even know what he was doing. I mean, I guess he was trying to foul, but
it was the greatest stupid play I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, to try to make a steal there is the dumbest thing that you can do. But he actually went and he got it, and it was clean. That was one of those things where I'm sitting there like, oh my God, he just committed a foul on a three. Oh, they didn't call a foul when he got fouled. Oh, he didn't actually foul. So that was
crazy in the arena. It was crazy in the arena. But then when everybody saw the replay up top, they were like, oh, yeah, it was clean.
Yeah,
I think Michigan State fans got over it pretty quickly.
Yep. All right, I want to pivot here because I do want to get to the Mountain West, because I think that there's a really interesting conversation to be had about the Mountain West here. Boise State is I'm going to start with Colorado State, Tio, because they flipped it, man. Nico flipped this thing.
Man.
According to Torvik, since February 15th,
Torvik,
they are
pull out your Torvik. It's that time of year, boys. Pull out your Torvik.
Pull out your Torvik.
I'm in Vegas. I'm pulling out my Torvik.
Throw it on the laptop. They're the 8th best team in college basketball since February 15th. How did they flip this?
Yeah, they are. Role allocation, role definition is huge. And I think that's a big thing because they had to replace 4 starters, and now they've won. They're 20-4 in their last 24. That's absurd. Another thing is fast and they're smart. So you have both of those things to throw on top of the fact that they have an NBA player in Nick Clifford who can finish possessions for you at the end of the shot clock. Like 7-8 seconds, Nick Clifford can get it done. He's a bona fide NBA player. If not, I had him before this tournament in the 25 to 35 range. After this tournament, I think he slipped up to around 20. He's been that good. And not only that, they move the ball and they play with such good pace. They have such good players to complement him. Like Kyan Evans, people don't know about him very well yet, and I don't know what Nico Medved's going to do. But, like, the guy has been set up perfectly for success. Last year, he was with Isaiah Stevens. This year, he gets to split ball handling duties with Nick Clifford. Next year, he's going to be a freaking problem. So you have 2 terrific ball handlers there. You have Ethan Morton, who just understands winning stuff. He doesn't score a ton, but he understands winning stuff. You have Rashad Mem. Like, all these guys, it took a little bit of time. Those first 10 games, like, role allocation's huge. You got Bowen Bourne, who transfers from Northern Iowa. He thinks he's going to be a dude. He's at his best coming off the bench, and he was terrific today guarding Alvaro Cardenas. So you look at how they come together. They were able to play with speed. They were able to play with a certain amount of pace. They have curveballs with their defenses and what they can do. Colorado State's really, really good, and Nick Clifford makes them a different type of player, because if they're playing in that first few games in Dayton, I'd be scared.
No,
if
they
they're
won't.
a 12
They
seed
won't.
playing a 5, I'm freaking nervous.
Yeah.
So it's like this is a good team. It's a really good team, and Nico's a terrific coach. Like, really,
so,
really
Tio,
good.
They're probably going to be a 12 seed or an 11 seed because they got the automatic bid, so they can't go to Dayton. Right now, in our most recent
that's good news.
So in our most recent bracket projection, they're matched up with the Michigan Wolverines.
I think Lenardi had them matched up with Clemson, which, hey, man, like, it's freaking crazy to even think about. So it's like 5-12s are nuts. Those games are always crazy. I would be nervous because Nick Clifford is as good as anybody in college basketball today. Today, right now, he is that good. In one single possession, you need to get a bucket, he can make it happen. I did think, to throw it over to Boise, I thought Boise had a terrific tournament. They beat San Diego State in game 1. Alvaro Cardenas is tough as shit. Like, comes from San Jose State. Their point
guard. Get them in. They are an at-large team. They're dancing, baby.
Let me say this. Let me say this. As a guy who lives in ACC country, that team's better than North Carolina. That team's better than North Carolina. I've seen a ton of North Carolina. Boise State is better than North Carolina. Yeah, they are. They're a better team than North Carolina right now.
I don't disagree, to be honest.
Yeah, they're like
I mean,
if it were between them, I would put Boise in. Like Dagenhart is now the all-time leading scorer there. They're big, they're physical, they board like crazy. They give themselves extra chances. And Cardenas is like an A1 passer. Here's the thing: they played San Diego State game 1. They played New Mexico game 2. Super physical. And then they play Colorado State, who had played Nevada, who, for lack of better terms, I thought they were going to be much better coming into the season because they had a lot of talent.
we all did.
Then in the second round, they play Utah State, who's a lot of zone, a lot of freedom of movement. You're not getting beat around. Colorado State looked like the fresher team today. They really did. Boise State couldn't get angles. They looked really tired, really lethargic. Colorado State kept up with them on the boards. But all of that being said, Boise State, in my mind, guys, I think like they could win a game in the tournament. And I know the Mountain West hasn't had a ton of success. I don't freaking care. That team is good enough to compete and to win a game.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Boise State as well. Just to roll through their numbers really quick here. They're mid 40s in the net and in KenPom. They are 3-5 in quad 1 opportunities. They're 4-3 now in quad 2 opportunities after losing to Colorado State today. Actually, that might be quad 1 after this win because Colorado State was 51 in the net yesterday, so that might get bumped up. They lost 2 out of 3 to San Diego State, who was also on the bubble. The big thing, Goodman, they lost to Washington State, a quad 3 opponent, and they lost to Boston College, a quad 4 opponent. And that's going to be something that if they don't get in, that's why they won't get in.
Right.
All right. Good. I teed that up for you.
Goodman didn't want to do anything right there.
I thought we were doing toast. Yeah. I thought we were going to do toast quickly. I was waiting for you to get to toast real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do. So we're going to, do it real quick. TL, give me your toast of the night real quick. You got 15 seconds.
Nico Medved winning a Mountain West championship at Colorado State. It was an awesome ride. They are crushing it right now. They are dangerous in the NCAA tournament.
Mike, real quick, toast of the night.
My college coach, John Gross. 2 out of 3 years now dancing with Akron. 3 out of 4 now, 2 in a row. Him, Dustin Ford, John Eakey, all a part of Illinois when I was there. So good to see them dancing again.
Goodman,
Richie McKay. Yeah, Richie McKay, Conference USA. They struggled last year in the first year.
Man. Why isn't he getting more love?
His team, and they're going to the dance.
Yep. All right, and I'll end it with Robert Jones, Norfolk State. Robert Jones is a guy that somebody, a mid-major somewhere, is going to hire him one day and get really, really good really, really quickly. This has been the Field of 68 After Dark. Hang around for the afters. Now is your chance to prove you're smarter than the Field of 68. We're hosting a Survivor contest with our partner Splash Sports. There's a $25 entry fee, a 25 entry max in the contest, and more than 1,700 spots available, which means there's a $40,000 max prize for the winner. Survivor is the future of March Madness. Each day you pick a team to win. If they win, you advance. We'll also be running a free to enter bracket contest as well as a second chance Survivor in the Sweet 16. So prove you know more ball than the Field of 68 on Splash Sports. I want my home to feel like my home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We're live. It's the afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
Welcome back to the Field
Rob,
of 68
Rob,
after
hey,
dark.
for what it's worth, one lucky commenter in the YouTube comments, if you order something from Wayfair, Rob will actually come and assemble it in your kitchen. So like, there's another thing for you too. Don't order from IKEA, order from Wayfair because they're a sponsor, and Rob will come and put your coffee table together.
You give T.O. a couple old fashions, and this is what happens. It gets completely reckless on the Field of 68 after dark.
Unreal.
Oh man! All right, listen, guys, we got a couple more league championships that I want to make sure that we get to here. Duke beat Louisville today. They did it without Cooper Flagg. Obviously, they won by 11 points. I thought Louisville actually looked pretty good for about 35 minutes of that game, and then Duke just kind of big boyed him. Tyrese Proctor hit a couple threes. Con Knipple made a couple plays down the stretch. And Duke is the ACC tournament champions despite playing without Cooper Flagg. They were actually better without Cooper Flagg in that tournament than they were with Cooper Flagg. I think they were down by 14 when he got hurt against Georgia Tech. Goodman, you said earlier you think that Florida is the best team in college basketball right now. Duke's going to get Cooper Flagg back here at some point. I think that you're wrong.
Well, again, gimpy ankle. That's all I'll say is if the ankle is gimpy, then I'm taking Florida. If the ankle looks 100%, yeah, I think it's a toss-up. I do. I think Florida, the difference is, guys, and Duke is still freshmen. They still have 3 freshmen that play a ton of minutes that have never been in the tournament. You know, Walter Clayton Jr. was in the tournament, right? He's been in it at Iona. Last I checked, Elijah Martin played in the Final Four. Okay, so, you know, these guys are seasoned. I love these Duke freshmen. They don't play like freshmen, but they still are freshmen, and they haven't played in the NCAA tournament yet.
Yep. T.O., where do you stand on this? Who is the best team in college basketball today?
I think with Cooper coming back, and keep in mind, Cooper's like 15 years old, so that ankle's going to heal in like 3 days. So it's not like the same as us, Goodman. Like we twist our ankles walking down the steps, and then we're out for 3 weeks. Not the same as Cooper Flagg. Like he'll be fine in 3 days. He'll be full go in practice. And keep in mind too, they're going to be playing a 16 seed first. And I have no doubt in my mind that Con Knipple can handle things against a 16 seed. I think they're plenty good enough. They're at a point now where offensively they're really clicking, and you could see spurts over the last 2 games really where things got tight, and that's when Cooper would get you 6 points. And that's where things changed for me because they struggled to find that guy, and they still won. And they not really, it wasn't really that close against Louisville, who's been really good. And by the way, I don't think it was mentioned on the telecast, but Rain Smith being out for Louisville was a big deal. Because they were like, he's kind of a run starter for them, and it wasn't mentioned maybe once in the telecast in the second half, and like he's a big deal. So obviously Duke's without Cooper, Rain was without, or Louisville was without Rain. That hurts things for both parties, but still, if I'm thinking about who's the best team is, Florida's up there, Duke is up there. Walter Clayton, you alluded to him, man. Like, what a bucket. I don't know what else to say about that young man. Like, he's been good ever since he was at Iona, and he's taken it up another level. If I had to pick one team, though, Duke, fully healthy, I think I'm going Duke.
Yeah, Rain Smith right now is sitting at home. They might have lost, but he is sitting there fist pumping because T.O. just said that he is as important to Louisville as Cooper Flagg is to Duke, and that's probably the best compliment this dude's ever gotten in his entire life.
Yeah, maybe not as I also will say, but very important nonetheless.
No, he's up. No, I got your point. I'm just giving you a little shit.
Shooters stick together. Hey, shooters stick together.
100%. That is 100%.
We stick together about as good as those table legs that Dauster's going to come put together at your house. Make sure you comment in the YouTube comments. Dauster's going to come fix some furniture.
That's right. If you do
Wayfair.
You buy something.
Hey, listen,
you might be the light
guy on the afters
or girl.
And now that we're on the afters, like we got to get some other guys to do some reads. Like we can't take a break from Rob to get more Rob. Like that's a lot of Rob. And we love Rob.
You want to, I got, but like, hey, we got 3 more we got to do tomorrow morning. I got 3 more we got to do tomorrow morning. I will send it to you, Tio. You want to read them?
Tio's going to be asleep.
I'll do it from the plane.
Do it,
Huh?
yeah, do it from the plane. There you go. I will say this: Con Knippel, I discovered this weekend, certified field of 68 after dark guy. Big fan.
Is he?
And he also yesterday had an interview where somebody asked him about the pressure of taking free throws at the end of the game, and his answer was, "Yeah, I'm confident. I make my free throws. I just told Big Pat, don't do something dumb when I shoot him, like go get a lane violation at the end of the game," which was amazing. It was awesome. Con Knippel,
That's pretty good.
he got a little swag, man. He's got a little shit to him.
He's got a little edge to him,
awesome.
man.
Yes, he does. All right, I want to pivot here. I want to get to the Big 12. LaTulip, I'm going to hit you first on the Big 12. We had this argument last night. I think it was me and you, Goodman. We had this argument last night about Houston and how good they are. And CJ might have been there. And Mike, I can't remember if you were there too. You might have been there. But I believe that this is the best
not
chance
there.
that Houston. So I think this is the best position Houston has been in to win a national championship since Kelvin Sampson has been at Houston. And part of the reason I say that is because I think that this is
CJ and I push back in this.
Well, I think it's probably their best team, not their most talented, but their best team heading into the tournament for sure, considering that like the last time that they had a team like this good, Marcus Sasser got hurt and then Jamal Shedd got hurt. And so they've dealt with some injuries, but I think that this is the best team that Kelvin Sampson has had since he's been at Houston. Where do you stand on this group this season? How real is their chance of cutting down the nets in San Antonio and winning a Big 12 tournament championship after winning? They've won 22 of 23 games against the Big 12 this year, and the only game they lost was against a top 10 team in overtime.
I want to know Jeff, what was your response? You said you didn't agree. What was your answer?
It was the year with Sasser and Shedd as a young point guard. I thought was more talented. Now, again, I think this team is awesome. I can't get out of my head, guys. The team sometimes when you see a team in person, I saw them in Vegas. They weren't great. So you see them in person, and sometimes it's hard to get that out of your head. Offensively, I still don't know if they have enough firepower to win 6 straight. Can they get to the Final Four? Absolutely. I don't know if they can win the whole thing. I have five or six other teams ahead of them that I think could win the whole thing.
5 or 6?
That's a lot.
Definitely 5. The 4 I saw today, I will put the 4 I saw today from the SEC plus Duke ahead of Houston for me.
You put Alabama above Houston.
After watching them today, maybe not. But yes, with a healthy Grant Nelson. Okay. Yes. Okay. With a healthy Grant Nelson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, Rob, I think you and I talked about this a couple shows ago, but this team just went freaking 19-1 in the Big 12. Yes. I mean, I'm sorry. That's so unfathomable. I mean, we talked about Duke and the ACC and this and that. I mean, where you stack up the Big 12 would likely, after the SEC, it's probably the Big 12, right? It's like Big 12, I guess, whatever your thoughts are on the Big 10, and then maybe Big East, and then, I mean, like, how would we, before we get into this, how would you
do this? We don't have to do this right now, LaTulip. We don't have to do the conference rankings right now. That's not
sure.
Tio's tired.
We won't.
He's tired out there.
Yeah, we won't.
I'm hurting right now.
But my point is, sure, I got it, Tio.
I would put him close. I'll say it quickly. I would put Big 12 and Big 10 not that far apart this year.
Got it.
I agree with that.
My point with Houston, like the difference, I think with this team and the Sasser team. I'm assuming you're talking about the 2021 team that went to the Final Four in the bubble, or during COVID year. This team just they don't have a ton of deficiencies, and they're able to cover it up in different ways. I think this team's ability to shoot the ball, and not only shoot the ball off the bounce. That's something that when you get into March and when things break down, you need guys that can go and get you one off the bounce. And Uzan can do that. Cryer can do that. Sharp can do that. They have just a litany of guys that can do that. And we'll see what happens with Roberts. I mean, I think that's a really big key here. I mean, if we want to talk about health with all these other teams, I mean, seeing Roberts over there in a boot tonight was certainly alarming, given the his standing on this team and the toughness that he brings. And so I think Houston can win a title. Absolutely. I think they can be one of those teams. Now they're probably a little bit further down the list, to your point, than maybe the Dukes and the Floridas and the Auburns. But I just love the way that they can, like I said, fill those deficiencies that they have, with whether it's winning the rebounding margin, keeping things low possession. There's one argument you want to have. I mean, that's what scares you, a low possession team that, when you run into a team like a Texas Tech that comes in the Fertitta Center that is also willing to hit shots off the bounce to get past your own stout defense. That's probably where I'd see Houston's team season ending is with a scenario like that, where a team gets hot and in those low possessions you're not able to generate enough to withstand that. So I'm still high on Houston, but I don't think it's like out of the question that they can win a title.
Yep. Tio, give me your
one
Houston
thing
take, and then you can get out of here and get some sleep.
Am I getting kicked out because I said something about your furniture building ability? Is that what's happening right now? I'm curious.
No, because you said you got a 6 a.m. flight. I'm just trying to make sure you get your beauty rest, man. We got you on early tomorrow, okay?
I hear you. I'll be on, even though I wasn't included on the sign, but I digress. Here's my thing with Houston. I really like the fact that they have multiple guys that can create a shot. Like LJ Cryer, if he gets that little left-hand step back, you can rely on your defense every single night with JoJo Tugler and all those guys. I mean, they're just so tough. I do like the fact that Uzan can go for 25 to 30 points on a given night. I like that LJ Cryer can give you 30. And you're going to need one of those guys to step up when the game gets tight, like Mike says. Do I think they win a national championship? No. Do I think a Final Four is possible? Yeah, I do, because it is not easy to play against those guys. And what you're getting on every single night. They're just going to be tougher than you. And toughness plus a guy or two that can go for 30, that improves your chances, especially when it comes to Dire Straits. So I don't think they win a national championship. I do think that it's another deep run in March, which is basically become commonplace coming out of Houston and what Sampson's done. So are they the most fun team to watch? For me personally, no. But at the same time, like, I can't argue with results. And when you have guards that can make something happen, they've got a chance every single night.
Their consistency is ridiculous, right? They went to the Final Four in 2021. They went to the Elite Eight in 2022. They went to the Sweet 16 in 2023. Last year, they went to the Sweet 16, and I feel very comfortable saying that they would have been a Final Four team had Jamal Shead not hurt his knee in the second round game against Texas A&M, because they got was it Duke
NC
that
State.
picked them off?
It would have been NC State.
Yeah, but it's Duke and then NC State is who they would have played. And I feel very comfortable saying that they would have been in their second Final Four and third Elite Eight in the span of 4 seasons. Their floor is just – it's that high. Like, I understand what you're saying with the SEC, Goodman. I don't know. I think with Milos Uzan and the way that he's been playing of late, I'm all in on Houston. You're all in on Tennessee. I'm all in on Houston. Go Cougs.
You're all in on Tennessee. I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, I am. I mean,
the offense doesn't worry you.
No,
the periods
not
of
like
offensive.
I think they're more
I agree.
balanced. I mean, I said Igor's still kind of the X factor for me, but man, Chaz can get his kind of whenever he wants. Zakai looks healthy again, and Para is okay. Like not a weapon offensively, but a lob threat at least. And I think the biggest thing for me is Gainey. Gainey's been the biggest difference.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
Really.
I also think we made this comparison earlier in the year, and after seeing him in person, I'm curious your thoughts. Like, it almost feels like Dalton Knecht was great. He was great. But they would give him the ball up at half court and be like, go ahead. It feels like Chaz, the way he plays, is conducive to having other guys play well beside him. Is that kind of how it feels? Because he's willing to let the ball go a little bit.
Totally. No, he's not ball dominant at all. He's not. Right. I mean, he could, like, again, they can run their offense through just kind of, moving it, Zakai having the ball in his hands. They can go a lot of different ways, where last year, you're right, it was all Dalton Knecht. Like you just knew he had to take over games. He had the ball in his hands all the time. Now it's in Zakai's hands so much, which I think allows him to make plays for everybody on the team because he's a much better passer. So, I just think this Tennessee team is better overall offense.
I agree
All
with
right,
that.
let's discuss the bubble here because I think that's what everyone wants to talk about. So for fielding the 68, our last 4 in were San Diego State, Vanderbilt, Xavier, and Indiana. Our first 4 out were Boise State, Texas, North Carolina, and UC Irvine. I'm assuming UC Irvine, after losing to UC San Diego today, is probably out. And this is just my opinion. I think San Diego State and Vanderbilt are in. I think it comes down to 5 teams for 2 spots. That's Xavier, Indiana, Boise State, Texas, and North Carolina. T.O., I'll go to you first on this one. Who are your, out of that 5 right there, who are the 2 teams that you would put into the NCAA tournament today out of Xavier, Indiana, Boise State, Texas, and the North Carolina Tar Heels?
Boise State. And how'd Xavier do in the Big East tournament? I've been so wrapped up with this one.
They lost to Marquette in the quarters.
Their first game.
First game, yeah.
I would put Boise State in because I thought they showed well in their conference tournament. And guys, I'll be honest. I think conference tournaments matter. I really do.
They should. They should.
Mm-hmm. They should matter. So like that's part of it. Damn. Probably Xavier because they've put together some metrics that are really nice. Indiana, the thing is, if I had to pick one team on their best day, it'd probably be Indiana, but I think we got like that 20% of the season. Probably Boise State and Xavier. And I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it one bit.
LaTulip, where are you at?
I was honestly going to say Boise State and Xavier. I've been since New Year's Eve. I've been on the Xavier train, and it's been a winding ride. But I feel confident. I just want to see Conwell in the tournament. I want to see that backcourt in the tournament. And Fremantle was out for a couple of those games against. I think it was the UConn and Marquette game, actually, the ones that they lost. So we'll see if that factors in. I just don't know. I mean, how much we've seen on the top 16 that they do, however often they do that. I mean, there's a lot of SEC on there. So like, how does that factor in for Texas? I mean, with the quad 1 wins and being in that league, what does that look like? But for me, I probably would say Xavier and Boise State as well, with Indiana being like right there. And I agree with T.O. I think out of all these teams, Indiana probably is on their best day, better than probably all 8 of these teams. But we'll see what it comes down to. I mean, I don't think any of us are naive to the fact that when it comes to Dayton, there may be a few brands that get thrown in there. Is all I'm saying.
Yes,
yeah,
that's something that
knock Texas off, Rob. Knock Texas out right away because they played a garbage non-conference. So knock them out right away, in my opinion. To me, I would like to see Xavier because, again, like Mike said, Fremantle was out for 2 games that they honestly could have won with him. At UConn they had, and then Marquette at home, they had that one as well. So those are 2 games that I think they could have won. Plus, you throw them in Dayton, Xavier in Dayton, that'd be a pretty good draw, wouldn't it? Like the fans that would come over for that one, or the fans that would boo Xavier.
Real quick, just I want to make one point on that real quick. So Texas had 17 quad 1 opportunities this season. So did Indiana. Xavier had 9, and 2 of the 9 that they had, they did not have their best player available, and that was at UConn and Marquette at home, and they lost both those games. One of them was in overtime, and one of them was by 2 points, where the loss was a phantom no call when Ryan Conwell got tripped, and that's something where I really do hope that Xavier's put out enough messaging that that's something that the committee is taking into account. Because when you
Oh,
I have
they have.
limited
They
quality.
have. All the
opportunities.
teams have. I mean, every team
Yep.
has put out their messaging on, again,
Hey, by the way, my favorite
Yeah.
messaging that we got today, the best that I've ever seen was John Calipari texting Seth Greenberg and saying, Boogie Fland is going to be available for the NCAA tournament. Like that's going to impact their seeding. If anything, that should make them get seated lower. When Boogie Fland played, they were not good. And then when Boogie
They're
Fland,
0-5. They're 0-5 in the SEC.
injury.
Like this, right? This isn't what you want, Cal, because if you want the committee to judge you with Boogie Fland, you're not a tournament team. You're not.
Yep. T.O., appreciate you being here, man. Go finish your steak. Go get yourself another old fashioned. Go get yourself some sleep. Do not miss your flight.
Steak.
Okay, do not miss your flight.
I won't miss
There's
the flight.
storms over here on the East Coast. It's going to get ugly in the morning. Do not miss your flight. You're not that guy. Appreciate you being here.
Medium rare steak. And I went to a place down here called Bavette's. Have you been to Bavette's in MGM?
Oh, yeah. Great.
Elite situation.
Great spot.
Really cool. Really cool. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Good night.
We're here.
Good night to you.
We're here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. See you
Safe
today.
travels, Theo.
Today.
Yeah, today, I guess.
In
Well,
16
tomorrow for me.
hours. Today.
Well,
no, yeah, that's right. Because you're
right.
in Vegas. Enjoy your time in Vegas.
This is going well.
This
This is great podcasting. We'll talk later. See you guys.
Yeah, see you, man.
Bye-bye, Theo. Good night.
Yeah, look, I just have a big problem with overall a 19-15 team that played the 349th best non-conference schedule getting in the tournament. I'm sorry, I do.
No, Texas should be gone. We should knock Texas out right now. Bye-bye.
I don't think that's something that should be rewarded.
Well,
Indiana going 4-13 in quad one opportunities, to me, is not something that deserves to be rewarded. Now, the problem that you run into is Xavier was 1-9 against quad one teams. And it's hard to, and North Carolina was 1-12. So when you put it into that context, it's like, okay, we're going to put those teams in over Indiana. Like that's where it gets hard. So Boise State is the one team that I would advocate for because they did well. They had the best record against quad one opponents, but they didn't have those like real top end wins. Their best win was what? I think it was San Diego State, right, in the tournament. So it's tough, man. It's there's
the other.
I was
We
going
don't
to
wrap
say,
soon, just so you know, my laptop's going to die. So just if you lose me, it's not because
plug it in. Go put it on the charger.
I don't have another. No, well, I could take out the microphone, but it's all right. We're good. We're good. If I go, you'll play the Florida interview after I leave,
right?
And I'm with you. I'm ready to wrap.
No, here
all right,
before we go,
two things. The Villanova. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Villanova.
Kyle Neptune got fired today.
Kyle Neptune got fired. So did Kevin Kruger at UNLV. But certainly the Villanova one was expected. 3 years, no NCAA tournament berth following Jay Wright. He was kind of Jay Wright's successor, handpicked successor. 1 year at Fordham. It didn't work out. He had money. He had resources. He had everything he needed. He just didn't get it done. So now, new AD at Villanova. Nobody really knows what direction he's going to go. I assume he is relying still on Jay Wright to some degree to help him through this process. He came from Oregon, and Eric Rodel's his name. And I would guess, and it's a guess here, that Richard Pitino will be involved to some degree at Villanova. I think Ryan Odom has established himself as a clear front runner at Virginia, from what I'm being told. So Villanova looked for Chris Collins to get in there. Remember, he's a Philly guy. His dad, grew up in that area early.
That's a good point.
Before moving to Chicago. So Chris has done a great job at Northwestern. Obviously, tapped that thing out at Northwestern for the most part. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
That should be the hire to me, by the way. Chris Collins.
Chris Collins.
I mean, I think he's
or Pitino, either one.
Yeah. I mean, either way. But for Collins, I'll just speak to the Big Ten side of this. He's one of the best coaches in the Big Ten. He has done more with less, probably more than any coach in the league. I mean, that team even having a Big Ten tournament berth this year after all the season-ending injuries that they had. And then when you're there in person watching him coach, I mean, like, he's a guy that he would be perfect for that Villanova job. Truly.
Because
and
he's dealt with like the academic angle. He's dealt with like the limits of transfers that you can get in stuff. And Villanova's probably better about that than Northwestern is.
No question. I mean, Northwestern, probably a higher academic bar. No, that's no slight against Villanova, but I think it is.
Yes.
But also, I don't know. I mean, as much as we talk about
the Illinois guy just called Villanova a shitty academic school. Is that what just happened?
No, Illinois, good academic school, by the way. Good academic school. I think top 10, maybe public university.
What?
Just
that can't be true.
Look it up. Look it up.
What?
Look it up.
You're just
I would believe that, but Trevor released
the value of your degree. What is going on?
Top 15, maybe.
I
would have believed that until Trevor Release got his degree from there. So that's the one thing that
did he actually get his degree though? Do we know he got his degree?
It was top 10, and then Trevor went there and it dropped to top 15.
Well, let me yeah, thank you.
Oh my God.
I take it back.
Oh no.
Nobody heard me say that. Nobody heard me say that. It's number 9.
I give you my
number
apologies.
Yeah, it's
Where's
number
Arizona
9.
on that list?
You guys can't hear Gagan,
where's
but it's
Arizona
number
on
9. 99?
Mike, anyway, I'm sorry.
Arizona's way too low for me to go look. So
well, all right, real quick. What I'm tired of hearing about is, and it's not just Ben Johnson, but like, the people that are like, oh man, I mean, he just didn't have any resources, right? Or man, they just don't have much resources. Well, how can you optimize it with, like, can you overcome it, right? I understand that like resources are important, but there's still the between the lines element of coaching where if you can get a coach that even with lesser resources can optimize the roster, optimize, the group that you have, like those are the guys that, should be getting those jobs. And I like, that's why I'm kind of banging the drum for Chris Collins, because I've seen him do that over and over and over again. And yeah, I think it's a perfect setup for him there. I think it'd be a perfect fit.
All right. I would love to see them as somebody that lives about 30 minutes from Villanova's campus and would want to go to a lot of games. I just want someone that's going to make that be a place that I got to get to again. Right. I just want it to be something where I don't have to go elsewhere to watch Big East teams play because Villanova is not something where it's a marquee matchup anymore. So that's what I'm hoping for. Personally, I think Richard Piscino would be the guy. Does he want to go to a place where you have the potential to have to play your dad 3 times in a season?
I don't think he cared. They have so much banter back and forth. He wouldn't care.
Fair enough. All right. Last thing I wanted to get to before we call this and we get to Goodman's ridiculous interview. There are a couple of potential bid thieves on the line tomorrow. The 2 that are the most important ones the 2 that are the only bid thieves that are there. VCU plays George Mason. I don't know if VCU is definitely in. I feel like they probably should be higher than some of those teams that are on the bubble right now.
I think
they're 31 in the net. They're top 30 in KenPom. They're 3-1 against Quad 1. They beat Colorado State on a neutral. They won at Dayton and they won at St. Joe's. That's the problem. They don't have that marquee win. They have 4 Quad 2 losses, which are all standard like league losses that you take in league play. And then they lost to Seton Hall on a neutral. So they got that one anchor loss on their resume. Great metrics and a really good Quad 1 and Quad 1/Quad 2 profile. The other one is Memphis and UAB. UAB is a really talented team. They're playing Memphis in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. And if UAB wins that game, then that conversation we had about 5 teams for 2 spots turns into 5 teams for 1 spot. And there's a very real possibility that if George Mason and UAB both win, then Vanderbilt and San Diego State might be the last 2 teams in the NCAA tournament here. So that is something that we need to watch for tomorrow. Before we get into the interview, here's how we're going to end it. LaTulip. Actually, you know what? We gotta give a shout out to a bunch of these teams that won automatic bids today.
Yes,
because
Ryan,
we got to. All right, you know what? Let's get to this interview. We're gonna hear from Jeff Goodman and Florida's backcourt here. This is I've never seen Goodman as proud as he
This
is
is-
over this interview. So
The hype.
I mean, I think Will's the most underrated guard in the country. I really believe that. You do not get your just due. Why do you think this works so well with the three of you guys? All mid-major guards. I mean, that's the craziest part of this. Belmont, Iona, FAU, and you guys are here, and I think, honestly, you're the best team in the country right now.
I think it's because we all unselfish. We all just want to win, and we all get along very well off the court. We like brothers, so we hanging together off the court, on the court. We all got that connection, so it's just been special to play with these group of guys.
This dude always struggle like this over there?
He good. He a dog. He good. He good.
No, I've never seen him struggle like this. He's always so tough. I don't know. Well, I said it today. I tweeted it during the game. I said, there's no guard in the country I'd rather have than you. What do you think when you hear first-team All-American, what you've done this year and what this team has done?
I just think of, honestly, man, my teammates and my coaches. You know, I think, like you said, Will being one of the best guards in the country, man, he don't get his flowers. I think there's a couple guys on our team that don't get their flowers, you know, and I think that's what's made me so great, just the guys that's been around me, just having that trust in me, you know, us instilling that confidence in each other.
All right, Elijah, you okay now? Yeah, I'm good. You sure? We're good now. I waited. I gave you a little bit of time to acclimate yourself. What could hold this team back? I mean, again, you guys are playing as well as anybody right now. What's the key now to winning the SEC title game against Tennessee and keeping this thing going?
What could hold us back is probably ourselves. Honestly, we got to keep doing what we're doing with making us successful, and what we got to do to win the SEC championship is embrace the physicality and just win in the margins.
Give me the thing that everybody rips on Wall for. What does everybody kill Wall for?
What do we got? Yeah, I don't want to wrap my boy out.
What?
I don't want to wrap my boy out. I think he good. He good.
Nothing? We got nothing? What about that guy? I said, what do you guys kill Wall for? Oh, this is off limits. This is off limits. All right, I get it. Why are you guys the best team in the country?
Because I feel like we the most connected team in the country. We all love playing together, playing for each other, and we having fun. So,
how does it happen that all three of you guys are misevaluated and that you end up going to a mid-major?
I mean, high school is different. I mean, when COVID hit, you didn't really get that evaluation period. So, I feel like everything it happens for a reason, and we ended up where we were supposed to be, and we're here together now, so it all worked out.
Somebody said, so they thought you were going to play football back in high school?
Nah, they definitely thought I had way more offers in football than basketball, so that's what everybody thought for sure.
What were you?
Anything you wanted me to be.
What would you have played? What would you have played if you had gone to college?
They don't know. They labeled me as an athlete. I might have been wide receiver. I might have been safety, so they don't know.
Who were you? Who was the player that you would like to compare yourself to the most in football?
I don't know, man. You know, I was a little light-skinned back in high school, so probably like Tyrann Mathieu on defense. You know, OBJ on offense, man. You know, yeah, y'all heard it here first, man. OBJ on offense, man. Simple.
Last one, Elijah. What does the SEC title game mean for you guys now? I mean, you've got a chance against Tennessee, best league in America. Everybody's going to be watching. I would assume a number one seed is on the line here tomorrow.
Just like you said, number one seed for sure. And it's just proving ourselves right. You know, we felt like we've been slept on all year, and just winning this tournament is just going to just solidify our legacy.
All right, there you have it. There they are, the best perimeter trio in the country right there. And
I can't. Good. Mute him. Leave him. He's gone. He's good. I can't get over. There were some parts of that interview that. First of all, Walter Clayton said, I was OBJ on offense in high school. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it.
Just the pan to the cold tubs. I just was not ready for that at all. That was just great and absurd all at the same time.
Reconnect, you fucking idiot. This is not that hard. Oh man, that was unbelievable. All right. I want to give some shout outs here, guys. I want to give some shout outs to the teams that won automatic bids tonight. This is actually great. No one can hear Goodman. He's sitting there talking and no one can hear you.
Screw that.
All right. LaTulip.
All right. He's telling me I can't.
All right. Yeah, it was better. I just didn't want you to talk. I want to give some shout outs to teams that earned their automatic bids to the NCAA tournament tonight. Let's start Goodman, Phil Martelli Jr., the Bryant Bulldogs. They beat Maine, America East Finals. This is a team, and this might be a hot take because they're probably going to be like a 15 or 16 seed. I don't think you want to draw them. They're dangerous. Earl Timberlake's a 4-star guy. He's 24 years old. Rafael Pinzone is a 6-foot scorer. Played in the Big East. Averages 18 a game. Shoots 39% from threes on 7 attempts per game. This is a dangerous team, Bryant.
Yeah, no,
Goodman.
I mean Timberlake's been around for like 14. He's been around longer than Robbie Hummel was around in college. So
Earl Timberlake and Mike LaTulip were in the same graduating class in high school. That's actually a fact.
Could be true.
That can't be a fact. The fact that I have to think about whether or not it's a fact, just I think is the whole point there. So well played.
Yeah, it would have been a lot different. But when you had the goatee going and you looked about 8 years older, then we didn't have to ask those questions anymore. But since you shaved the goatee and you look like you're 16 years old, now people are like, you know what? Maybe they're right.
I don't know what the hell to do with my facial hair, man. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I don't have what you got going on, dude. It's brutal.
Who else we got?
It's tough if your beard doesn't connect, right? All right, Norfolk State, Mike. Robert Jones gets back to the NCAA tournament third time in 5 years. I said it earlier. I think he's the most underrated mid-major coach in college basketball. There's going to be a program, like a mid-plus program, that's going to hire him and win a whole bunch of college basketball games one of these days.
They should. I mean, he's been doing this for years now, and he's been consistent with it. And you still need to get guys to go to Norfolk State and buy into the vision and win games consistently. And he's done that at a really, really high level. So I would love to see it. I mean, I love seeing him at Norfolk State, but seeing him, elevate would be pretty neat too. Anytime you see these program builders that, churn out wins consistently, I always want to see what it looks like at the next level. Cause a lot of that stuff I think translates. The guys that cut their teeth there for a long time. And there's a lot of other guys that I think are coming up in that same regard too. I mean, I know Brian Hodgson didn't make it to the tournament this year, but he's another guy I feel like in a few years here is going to elevate and win a hell of a lot of games like Jones is.
Yep. I root for the guys at the HBCUs to get jobs because it's the trend is that it's very difficult for guys to get out of HBCUs when they're coaching in the HBCU league. So I want those guys to get those opportunities. And Robert he's a really good dude, even though he went to SUNY New Paltz and we beat their ass every time we played him in college. He also has, I don't know if you guys know this, he has maybe my favorite backstory before he got into coaching. He used to be the promoter for 50 Cent shows when 50 Cent was just coming up in Jamaica, Queens, before he became 50 Cent, when he was just kind of like this rapper in New York City. Robert Jones was a promoter for him, which is one hell of a story. Goodman, Mount St. Mary's heading back to the NCAA tournament. They beat Tobin Anderson and the Iona Gales tonight.
Yeah, that was a big one. Alabama State, they won the SWAC. Tony Matlock, head coach there, who was a former assistant for Penny Hardaway. They beat Mo Williams' Jackson State Tigers to win the SWAC. So congrats to them.
UC San Diego, the Tritons are dancing with LaTulip. Tell me why they might be able to win a game.
I mean, I love the teams that have been kind of hovering around the bubble in the conversation that then go into their conference tournament with the target on their back, with everybody coming at them and able to break through and win the conference title. Like that tells me all I need to know about UC San Diego.
Eric Olin
Olin's a hell of a coach.
Their unbelievable coach. First year eligible for the NCAA tournament. They win the regular season title and conference tournament and beat a really good UC Irvine team in both.
Yep. Two more I want to shout out, and then we can get out of here. Goodman. Yep.
Yeah.
Two more I want to shout out before we get out of here.
You got to go the brother
Yes.
battle. I mean, crazy. John Grove says LaTulip toasted him earlier for Akron, wins on a crazy Nate Johnson transition bucket with about 3 seconds left to beat Travis Steele, who is John Gross's brother at Miami of Ohio. Man, I can only imagine what that is like.
I don't know how you can do that. Like, I honestly don't know how, like, the decision that Travis made, I guess he got to do it once what happened at Xavier happened at Xavier. But the idea of going into a league where you have to compete for championships against your brother just sounds, I don't know how you do that, man.
In a one-bid league, it sucks.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like,
what else?
And I can't imagine what John Gross is thinking right now. Like, he ended his brother's season and the chance for his brother to get to the NCAA tournament. It does not seem like a fun situation to be. Like, you want to celebrate that moment. It seems very difficult to celebrate that moment. Last one, Liberty.
Said it. I would say he said on the broadcast afterwards. He said on the broadcast afterwards, he's like, yeah, obviously it's like a different feeling when it's against your brother. So, I mean, it's we had Travis at a bunch of our practices when I was at Illinois, and I know how close those two are. So I know that's, kind of mixed feelings, I'm sure, after that one.
Yeah, and I know Travis is upset, but I also guarantee that he's probably happier than anybody else for John to be able to get back to the dance. So last one, Liberty, Richie McKay, Zach Cleveland, Caden Matheny. They're heading back to the NCAA tournament. I don't know if you saw it in the semifinals, Goodman, but Liberty should have lost that game. And Caden Matheny hit like 5 straight threes early on in the second half and just absolutely caught fire. 2 of them were like step back 35-footers where it's like, how the hell is this 5'8" dude? I love this Liberty team, man. Zach Cleveland's going to be dancing. You don't want to see them if you are a 12 seed. You don't want to see
one more, Rob, before we're done. With 2:25 left in the game, Bryce Drew, Grand Canyon, the Lopes are close to punching their 3rd ticket in a row to the NCAA tournament. And that would be, I believe, for Bryce.
They're flying under the radar.
4 and 5 years. And they're older, and they weren't great early, but they're up on Utah Valley here by 12 with 2.5 left. So if they close
I
it
feel
out.
like everyone forgot about how good Tyon Grant Foster is.
Agreed.
So, they're going to sneak up on some people. People forgot about them. Listen, this has been the Field of 68 After Dark, coming up tomorrow at 5:15 Eastern time. If you're still listening to this, we're going to be doing our Selection Sunday marathon live stream. That is going to be going for 6 hours, 45 minutes, maybe 7 hours. We'll see. Whatever we want to do. It's going to be crazy. And tomorrow, make sure you jump in. We're going to have a bracket pool on Run Your Pool, and we're going to have a Survivor contest on Splash Sports. Survivor, for people that don't know, you pick one team to win every day in the tournament. You can see a QR code right there in the corner. You pick one team to win every day in the tournament, and if that team wins, you advance. It seems easy, but the catch is you can only pick each team once. So you don't want to pick Duke in the first round, because if you pick Duke in the first round, you're not going to be able to pick them in the Final Four if they make it that far. So there's a lot of skill, a lot of strategy, and it is a lot of fun. We have a pool open right now, $25 to get in. You can have a 25 entry max. What I've done in the past for these is I've teamed up with a couple of buddies, and we'll just put in like 20 or 25 entries in as a group. Decide how we want to break up those entries as you go and pool the money if you win. If it gets filled, that's a $40,000 prize up top for somebody, whoever wins it. So that's what we got going on after Selection Sunday. But guys, we have 5 more games until the NCAA tournament bracket is here. I personally cannot wait. Thank you, Mike LaTulip, for hanging out until 1:45 in the morning. Goodman, appreciate your hustle, being able to find a place to do this show after your flight got canceled. And shout out to me for getting home in time and not having my flight get canceled on me on a Sunday morning of Selection Sunday.
So jealous.
So
good job, Rob.
Also, someone needs to go check on Trevor Valise. He's had 4 margaritas right now, and he's sending ridiculous things in our group chat. So the man survives 1 tornado warning and all of a sudden he's out here just living his best life. So shout out to Trevor Valise, our producer, and Dagan Hughes, who has the brightest green jacket anyone's ever seen on the planet Earth. You could actually see that right now from the satellites up in space. This has been the Field of 68.